Hello, you are watching MMA Crypt Fighting Talk. On today's show, we'll be going 3 rounds of action, featuring Daniel Cormier seeks replacement for UFC 170. Rich Franklin looks to finish his one remaining fight on his UFC contract, before ending the show with UFC changes the Of the Night bonus awards. Joining me to discuss these topics, Brian Hunt, Greg Marshall and Hein van der Velden. Give a hello to our listeners, guys.
Hello, folks.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, how is everybody doing?
Okay, guys, let's kick things off in round 1. And Daniel Cormier seeks a replacement for UFC 170. Now, the basic story to this, guys, is Sugar Rashad Evans has had to pull out of his scheduled fight with DC at UFC 170 due to a knee injury. The UFC have pulled both fighters from the card and look to reschedule this fight at a later date. Apparently, this isn't sitting too well with Daniel Cormier, as he is pretty much begging for a replacement to be found. He's called out names like Chael Sonnen and Anthony Rumble Johnson to step up and face him at UFC 170. Daniel also said he would jump to heavyweight if need be. So he's pretty much itching for a fight here, guys. He's citing he has put too much hard work into his camp for it all to be for nothing. So you can sort of see his point, really. Brian, would you like to see DC stay on the UFC 170 card? And who would you like to see step up and face Daniel Cormier? You know, he's pretty much put out an open challenge to the light heavyweights and the heavyweights.
Well, I know Chael tweeted right away that he's up. He's not completely ready, but he's kind of ready, and he's always open for a fight. So, but I don't want to see that.
You don't want to see it?
No, I don't, because I think we saw an ill-prepared Chael against Rashad, and it doesn't do good for Chael at 205. It's not a good fight for him, in my opinion. The one guy I'd really like to see step up is Anthony Johnson, but for me, it doesn't make sense for anybody at 205 to accept this fight, unless you're outside the top 10, outside the top 15 guy that's really looking to try to make a name for himself. This is just too hard for a fight for a top guy to take. It's not a smart fight. It's not. It really isn't a smart fight. I'm huge on Daniel Cormier, so I think a lot higher of him than a lot of other guys. But he brings a skill set that is a lot of trouble for a lot of guys, and I don't think people on 10 days' notice will take it. So I'd love to see him fight somebody. I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, Greg, would you like to see Daniel Cormier stay on the UFC 170 card? And who would you like to see step up and face DC?
Well, I think it's irrelevant now because the UFC have pulled him anyway. They've already announced that the fight's getting moved to 172, but before I can gather. As for staying on the card, I'd like to have seen him stay on the card because, like you said, he's worked hard. This is a guy who's put in a lot of effort to get from heavyweight to light heavyweight, especially given his kidney troubles that he's had in the past. So he's obviously worked hard to do this. So it kind of really sucks for the guy, but is it worth putting somebody in there just for the sake of putting somebody in there against him? I'm not so sure. Obviously, Sonnen stepped up and said he'd fight him. Sonnen would just be thrown a bit like a rag doll, I think. Who else? Anthony Johnson. No way Johnson would take a fight like that in his first fight back in the UFC. Other than that, is there anybody? Phil Davis, maybe, possibly? I wouldn't have thought so. And as for heavyweights, why would any heavyweight take a fight against a guy who's going to light heavyweight and risk losing to him? It just would have made no sense for any of them, really.
But he was still a big name heavyweight, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, but if
he was in the top 10 easily. But he was ranked in the top 10.
If they lose to a guy who's dropping to light heavyweight, it kind of kills their career for the next 3 fights because they'll need to win 3 to get back on track.
Hein, would you like to have seen Daniel Cormier stay on the UFC 170 card? And who would you like to see step up and face him potentially?
He's doing real good. He's really on a winning streak. The guy is good standing up, and he's a very good wrestler. he's not gonna fight Gain Velasquez. He's not gonna fight him. He's on the same team, but that will be an awesome fight. Yeah, Rashad Evans injured. I think he's scared. I don't know. The guy is really on a winning streak. He moved down in weight, but I think he still has the same power. He's heavyweight. GDS. That would be awesome if GDS took that fight. That would be awesome. Oh shit.
So you calling for JDS to come on short notice and put his name in the hat against Cormier?
Yeah, I like him to fight GDS. I think that can be a really awesome fight. If he goes down to light heavyweight, then yeah, of course, John Jones. John Jones, I think he's gonna beat John Jones, but that also be a good fight. Yeah, Chael Sonnen, no chance, really, no chance. He's gonna be beat. I do not understand one thing. I got my friend Michael Kuiper from my Francis gym. He only lost 2 fights, 2. He's out of the UFC. They erased him, or how do you call it? They kicked him out of the UFC. Chael Sonnen, he lost 4 or 5 less fights. When is the last time he did win? But he's still in the UFC. That guy is only in the UFC because he's shit though. He sells pay-per-views. That's why they keep Chael Sonnen. That's why
he choked out Shogun not too long ago. Come on, give him some props there, Hein.
Who did he choke?
Shogun Rua.
Oh yeah, long time ago. Okay, one time. Okay. Yeah, you're right at that. And his fight with Anderson Silva. His first time that he gave him a hard time, but at the end he get knocked out. That was fuck. But no, I want to see Daniel Cormier fighting GDS. Yes, that's the Reem is also a good fight. I think that is also a good fight. Yes.
Trained by a legendary Dutch fighter. Bas Rutten, by the way, as well.
Who's trained by Bas Rutten?
Alistair, back in the day.
Alistair, not trained by Bas Rutten, but trained with Bas Rutten.
Yeah, trained with him. Same thing, Hein. Come on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but they're not really friends now, but okay.
They're not friends? Oh, that's for another show. That's for another show, Hein. Come on.
Yeah, no.
Setting me off here. You're setting me off digging. I'm sticking my nose in.
No, they're not really friends now. Not really. It's all about golden glory, I think. And no, I can't say. Sorry. Family secrets.
We'll keep that a bit.
Yes. I can't tell. I'm how you call? I don't know how to call it in English. I'm not allowed to talk.
Well, for me, whoever takes it, they're going to have to be in some sort of fighting shape because, you don't want to face Daniel Cormier on the best of days. You could be in the best shape of your life. You could be on the best win streak of your career, But you do not want to face Daniel Cormier when you're not in shape because you're just going to get ragdolled. The guy will just throw you around the ring and out-wrestle you for 3 rounds. So you're pretty much going to get ground and pounded and punched in. So whoever takes it seriously has to be in shape, in really good shape. Okay, moving on to round 2. Rich Franklin plans to honour his 1 fight left on his UFC contract. Speaking with MMA Junkie, Franklin admitted he would like to finish up his 1 remaining fight on his UFC contract. Franklin has recently been moving away from mixed martial arts and become a partner in Sailing Juice and Fusion Cafe, which pretty much takes up all his time at this point. Who would you guys like to see Rich Franklin face in his potential last fight in the UFC and potential last fight of his career? That's for you first, Brian.
I was looking at the list. I started with at 185, but thinking it's his last fight. Probably needs to be a 205 guy. I don't know if Rich can make 185 anymore. There wasn't a whole lot that jumped out at me. The only guy that really jumped out, and I think he might be ranked too high right now, is Little Nog. That fight actually kind of draws a little bit of interest to me. I think Rich could win that fight, depending on which Nogueira shows up. But that was it, and that's kind of sad. I looked up and down the list, and I was like, I love Rich Franklin. I love what he's done, but just Little Nog is the only fight that really kind of draws too much of my interest. I'm looking forward to what see the other guys say, and maybe I'll get excited about those, but maybe not.
I got one.
Okay, so that's my thing is Little Nogueira.
He's going to say something there, Hein?
Yes. I want to see him fight Dan Henderson. It's like the battle of the old legends. Rich Franklin, a really good fighter. He did awesome fights. He was a champ, I think. He had the title. I want to see him fight. If it's his last fight, I want to see him Dan Henderson. It's the battle of the classics. I think that will be a good fight.
Well, they actually faced each other back at UFC 93. That makes a lot of sense too, Hein, to be honest with you.
It's a classic. I like that kind of fights. Yeah, I think it's a nice fight to retire with.
Greg, who would you like to see Rich Franklin face?
Well, to start with, I was the same as Brian. I couldn't really think of anybody. I was looking through the lists as well and thinking there was nobody really. Certainly nobody at middleweight worth looking at really. And I came up with the same answer in the end as Hein there, Dan Henderson. Or not necessarily Dan Henderson, the loser of the Henderson-Hua fight. I think that would be a decent option because both of those guys are not in the title picture. They're both big names. It's got to be a reasonable name for Franklin to fight. He can't go fighting somebody like, I don't know, Ryan Jimmo or something like that in his last fight. It's got to be a name. So it has to be somebody from the same kind of era. And Henderson and Shogun are probably the obvious ones. The other one, I don't know if it's an option right now, but Sonnen. He's another guy that just takes exciting fights now, fun fights. Franklin Sonnen wouldn't be a bad fight. It'd be quite a fun fight. There was a couple others. Lil Nog, like Brian said, but I think Lil Nog's in the title picture, so that's kind of keeps him kind of off the list a bit.
Well, he's coming off an impressive win over Rashad, so
yeah, and although he's been injured for about 6.5 years. Yeah. But it's a tough one because there's not a lot of names out there for. Let us say, frankly, you can't just throw him in against anybody. It's got to be a name of some sort. The only other one, there's a couple of wild cards. Alan Belcher, who's kind of semi-retired himself just now and talking about going up to light heavyweight, so maybe that would be an option. And who was the other one I was thinking of that was kind of a bit of a wild card? Can't remember now. I had two of them. And that's lost. Ed Herman, possibly, because he just stands and bangs with people, but even Ed Herman's not a decent name.
You mentioned Rogerio Nogueira. Come to think of it now, both the Nogueira twin brothers, right? Back in Pride, they used to take huge amounts of punishment, right? And the guys would just come back and win. Well, since they've been in the UFC, they've had nothing but fucking injuries. They've been out of the cage more than they've been in it. It's like the curse of the UFC or something. Unless they might have been juicing, a special juice over in Japan or something.
They're just older. They're just older, and they're not on the TRT yet. If they were on the TRT, they'd probably be able to get through fights.
I'm going to have to go against you guys here. I pretty much want to see him fight middleweight because it's pretty much where he spent most of his career in the UFC. He was the champion there, so I'd like to see him finish at middleweight. I was tempted to go with a Legends fight to begin with, pretty much like you guys. I actually started searching through the UFC roster today, and I was looking through. I actually stopped at one guy. You know, I didn't even bother looking any further through the rankings. I think I stayed on the first page. It's actually Uriah Hall. Now, if you think about it, guys, no, seriously, hear me out.
I actually suggested that a while back as well.
Because, you know, this guy has the potential to be something great still in the UFC, you know. He had a couple of close losses, but his destruction on The Ultimate Fighter, you know, it's a non-too-distant memory. And I think a fight against Franklin is, you know, something Franklin could get up for and train, because right now he's pretty much accomplished everything he wants to accomplish. For him to get back in the gym and really train hard for somebody, a young guy like Uriah Hall, who's exciting and brings a different style that possibly he's never seen before, apart from Anderson Silva. And we will get to see, is Uriah Hall's one of the division's best? Because right now it's still a question mark. Is he going to be one of the greats in the division? Is he a top 10 guy? Is he a top 5 guy? You know, he's certainly got the potential, and he's shown glimpses of it recently against Chris Lieben. So it's just a matter of proving it now, you know. Either send Rich Franklin out on an impressive win, or build a new star. So it's to me, it's a win-win situation.
It works for Hall as well in many ways, because it gives Hall the chance to get a big name under his belt, and if he doesn't win, then he's just not got it.
Exactly.
So it does kind of work in a few ways, and he's a bit of a name, Hall, as well, with what he did in Ultimate Fighter.
Okay, moving on to our third and final round. UFC have changed the format in which they choose the of the night awards. They are keeping the Fight of the Night award, but scrapping the Knockout and Submission of the Night. Replacing the Submission and Knockout of the Night will be 2 Performance of the Night awards. That means the 2 fighters deemed to have put the most exciting individual performance of the night will take home 50k each. Brian, what do you make of the change to the post-fight bonuses?
I'm okay with it. Besides screwing Kick-Ass's new game, so besides that, I'm kind of okay with it, because you'd see one knockout, and it wasn't that impressive of a knockout, and they got the bonus. But yet you might have seen more impressive fights that night. So I'm okay with it. The only thing I would add is I think there should be a knockout bonus, just a flat-out bonus. If you stop your guy, not even a knockout bonus, just a stoppage bonus. If you stop your guy, maybe you should get 10K. If you're able to make the guy not finish the fight, 10K bonus for every guy that does that. And I like that. If the UFC really wants to get crazy, maybe they can do they really want to push the intensity or pace. Maybe a first round stoppage is 15K, second round's 10K, and third round's 5K. I'm not sure if that's good or bad for the sport, to be honest.
That's a nice idea. They will go for the knockout. Yeah, that's a very good idea.
Yeah, I mean, go for the submission, go for the knockout, and on championship fights, you take it up to 25K. So that'd be 25K first round, then 20, then 15, and blah, 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 and 5 in the 5th round. But again, I'm not sure if that's good or bad. I don't know if it's going to change the way some fighters fight. I don't know how much 10K is going to do you get more aggressive and then possibly get cut because you got too aggressive out of it.
Alistair Wood tried hard to knock out
Frank Mir.
Frank Mir. Yeah, he would try harder when he got a 10K bonus.
yeah, I mean, maybe, and we're not kind of making fun of Overeem for it because it was a lackluster showing. So that's what I would do in addition to it. But as far as the actual changes of the night, I'm okay with it because there were some KOs of the night and submissions of the night that weren't overly impressive when there was actually greater fighters on the card. So,
Greg, what do you make of the changes to the of the night bonuses?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's going to make any difference at all. When you can get cut, losing 2 or 3 fights, having a guy given the option to earn an extra few quid by knocking a guy out is not going to make a difference, I don't think. Or by performing better or whatever. But the win is king. That's a fact, and that's always going to be the case. Win is king. Your exciting guys are always going to be the guys who generally aren't the most well-rounded. because so they're going to try and win the fight any way they can. I don't know. I don't think it's going to make any difference at all, changing how they award these things and changing the awards and that.
Hi, and what do you make of the changes to the post-fight bonuses?
Not really a big difference. I think it's all the same for me. Now stay with knockoff of the night, submission of the night, fighter of the night. I don't know. One man doesn't make a fight. You need two of them. When you got one fighter and he knocks down his opponent easy, it can be a nice knockout, but it's not a good fight. When you got two fighters and to really go for it, then you have a fight. So I stay with fight of the night and not fighter of the night. I keep the knockout and submission bonus, and especially keep the fight of the night, not the fighter of the night. The fight is done with two men. That's my opinion.
Well, for me, I actually don't mind it too much. I'm a little bit of a fan of it. I'm going to give it time before I start judging it, because for me, the UFC have done this. They've made this decision to change the bonuses, because if you look at the fight, like the Sergio Pettis versus Caceres, that was the last fight before the pay-per-view started. The main card started, sorry. Now, what the UFC do, they put the prelims on the normal TV, so, it gets fans warmed up, and then if you want to buy the pay-per-view, then you go and purchase the pay-per-view. So what you're doing is you're basically selling your brand and trying to sell the pay-per-view card off the undercard fights. If you've got a load of boring fucking ass wrestlers who just take people down, hold them down, no one's going to buy the pay-per-view, They're going to be like, well, what's this crap? Now, if you've got the hardcore fans, they're going to buy it just off the names on the main card. If you've got new guys coming in, say it's on late at night, you've got a guy coming in from the pub, he flicks on the telly, what's this? Oh, two guys in a cage, what are they doing? Now, if you see some guy getting punched in the face, blood splattered everywhere, you see these flying kicks going around the cage, you're going to go and buy the pay-per-view. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, especially with the undercard fighters. The main card fighters, not so much. These guys are there for the win. The undercard fighters outside the top 20, they don't care pretty much if they win or lose. Some guys know they're getting cut anyway, especially if they look at the guy and they think, well, he's better than me at all areas, fuck it. I'm just going to go out with 50k in my pocket,
I'm not convinced. I don't think it'll make a difference. They've already had that option if they can knock a guy out. And the way to knock a guy out is to get in and be exciting. You've got to get in there and you've got to throw. And it's not encouraged them up to now. I just don't see it making a difference.
Okay, that is a wrap for today's show. As always, be sure to check out MMACrypt.com. Prediction Contest 117 is up and running for UFC Fight Night 36. Gegard Mousasi versus Lyoto Machida event. Also, MMA Crypt Fantasy League Season 2 is up and running. Simply pick your team of fighters with the 5 million budget allocated to you. You can find both of these contests in the MMA Crypt Fantasy Forum. From MMA Crypt Fighting Talk, thank you for watching.